I don't know you have the question like me. I have a question that I ask myself very often. Why the cost of the food rise up all the time? Why the food is so expensive? And then most of expensive food that we have now have very low quality. Low quality, have less nutrition, high chemical, high hormone, high antiseptic. Why is that? The nature is the system that produces food to feed us all the time. The nature can feed every life on this earth. Even we have more population than now, the nature can feed all of us, no problem. Because the nature can produce so much, and then nature produce very good quality of food and the cheapest food. But when we think about we clever, we have technology, we know how to produce food in our way, and then we take over the job of produce food from the nature. We let the factory produce food for us. Factory farm, chicken, pork, eggs, fish, everything come from industrial farm. And when we start to do that, everything collapse. All the food system collapse all over. They always said that if we don't use technology, if we don't use chemical, we cannot feed the population of the world that increase very fast every year. But actually when we use technology, when we use chemical, we have more problem with our food now. The food quality decrease a lot, but the price higher and higher and higher. And then we ruin the ecosystem of food production in a natural way completely. This is what we call civilization or development. It's so sad to see that. So the problem is not about the nature did not produce food enough for us. Nature always produce food more than enough for us. But the way we manage the food, the way we manage the natural resources is not normal. We manage the natural resource for our greedy. We manage it for profit. We did not manage it for human, for our life, to live happily forever. That's why we take over the job from nature and then we do it ourselves. But when we do it ourselves, we work harder, spend more money, invest more to produce very bad quality of food for us. Now in Thailand they have a law, new law. They just passed a new law, allow fishermen to use the net that has many very tiny hole, like less than 2.5 centimeters to catch small fish. When they use the net with very tiny hole, you can catch a lot of fish, all the fish. So we can produce more, we can make more money. But what will happen is the ecosystem will collapse. Because the small fish is going to be a big fish. And many big fish eat small fish to be big. So when we caught all the small fish, the baby of the big fish were caught. And then another different kind of small fish that used to be the food for the big fish disappear. But they will be caught too. So there's no baby, no food left what will survive in the ocean? This is the way business people think about food. That's why now we have not enough food to feed people in the world. And then they always say that if we don't use technology, if we don't use chemical, we will not have enough food to feed population of the world. But now we never look back. What happened after we use so much technology, so much chemical to produce our food? What happened with us now? We can't see the future. How can we get more food in the future if we develop food in this way? Because everything collapsed. A lot of biodiversity disappear. The ecosystem collapsed. How can we produce food? So it's very sad to think about the way we work now. If we produce food in a natural way, we let the nature grow food for us. In the past, we have forest. The forest produce a lot of food for us. Whenever we walk to the forest, we got a lot of roots, a lot of vegetable, a lot of fruit, a lot of things from the forest, a lot of animals. And when we walk to the river, there's a lot of fish in the river. When we walk to the ocean, there's a lot of food in the ocean too. There's a lot of food in the world. If we manage well, it will never finish. We will have it forever, have it enough forever. Because each people, we don't eat a lot. But when we manage for profit, it's not enough. Even one company, you cannot have enough resources for the profit of one company, because each company, they have unlimited profit. But if we produce food for ourselves, we have enough, because our stomach have limited. If we eat this much, it's enough, it's full. So it's not about the natural way will not produce enough for us, but it's about the way we manage it. We did not manage for our need, but we manage it for our want. That's why it's never enough. If we want to let the nature produce food to us, it's so easy. They can produce more than we need forever. The easiest way now is just how can we bring back the mangrove all over along the seashore. Mangrove used to be the place where sea life, ocean life, lay eggs and nourish their baby. When their baby is strong, they will go out and they will come back to lay eggs again. Now we cut down all mangrove area to make shrimp farm. Shrimp farm spend a lot of money, a lot of work, and ruin a lot of ecosystem just to get very expensive shrimp and then low quality and high chemical, high hormone. That's the way we produce food now. Mangrove used to produce a lot of food for us in the past. We don't care. We don't want to know about that. We just cut them down and turn into shrimp farm. So if we want to solve the hunger of the world, we need to bring back mangrove again. And then if we manage our garbage, how can we make the river clean? Don't dump chemical or garbage or trash in the river or in the ocean. The ocean will produce food for us more than we need forever. But we never see government try to solve this problem in a natural way so far. That's why we have so much problem? Because we did not solve the problem. The government is representative of business sector, not representative of people. Because most of people did not pay money for the politician. But the business people are the group of people, are the group who give a lot of money to support politicians. So they can use that money to buy vote from people. And then when they become the government, they work for business sector because they pay money for them. That's why most of the policy in the government now, they did not make the policy to make our life better. They did not make policy to make the ecosystem sustain for ourselves. They work for business sector, the big corporation. They want to control us. They want to monopolize our life. That's why they want to ruin the natural food from our life. Like in Thailand now, the government make a law allow big fishermen to use nets with very tiny holes so they can catch all the baby fish, all the small fish. So the ocean will be empty from life. People will have no cheap food, no good food to eat. And then we need to depend on them, need to rely on them. They will produce very bad and expensive food from their own industrial farm for us. That's the way they can control us completely. Because the whole system now will controlled by big corporation, just a few big corporations. They control the whole system. They try to force us to rely on them, depend on them mostly. That's why they try to ruin everything that we are going to depend on ourselves. They ruin the natural resources. Because if we have our own natural resources, we don't depend on them much. So now, the whole system, they try to ruin soil, ruin water, ruin forest, ruin animal that we use to feed ourselves in a sustainable way. We cannot rely on the government part much. We need to rely on ourselves more. How can we support local fishermen who catch fish in a sustainable way? How can we support the group of people or farmers who grow food in natural way more? How can we start to investigate more about where is our food come from? If we start to change our life in this way more and more and more, our food will be produced by farmers or people or fishermen who care about sustainable food, sustainable natural resources. That is the only way that we can survive in the long term and have a good life. I think we need to change our thinking, need to change our way of life. Think more about sustainable, about our next generation, what they will have to feed themselves if we living in this way. This is the most important thing to think about it now. The best way, the cheapest way to produce food is let the nature produce food for us. And we just work to support the nature, not control the nature. We just support the nature, help the nature to produce food in the natural way. We will have more than we need. When the nature is healthy, nature will produce food, produce everything we need more than we need. That is the easiest way, the cheapest way. The ocean always produce cheapest food and the best food for us. Forests always produce food and the cheapest food for us. But now nobody care about support the nature to produce food. We only ruin the nature. We rob the nature. So it will not last very long. If we don't change our mind, don't change our way of thinking,